What is good, YouTube? Quinway basketball analysis coming to y'all while holding down analysisplayground.com. Giving y'all that analysis this weekend. We gonna talk about free agency. I want to cover it again as we have more deals and more changes to a lot of rosters. And I just want to skim through the things that happen, why they happen, what happens next, and what these teams are trying to do ultimately with their rosters. When we look at the biggest news for today, is Wendell Carter agreeing to a 4-year, $50 million deal. I definitely agree with this contract. Some people were saying that Wendell Carter deserved $20 million. They are absolutely crazy. Wendell Carter can't even give me 20 and 10. He barely can give me 15 and 8. And even though he is probably their best young prospect, because I think he's better than Obama, because of his screen setting, his ability to finish a little bit at the rim, still has potential to get better, unselfish, doesn't need the ball to be effective, and is still very young. He does need to stay healthy. That has been one of his biggest problems in the NBA. One is not being able to space the floor. Two is not being able to stay on the court. And three, still having a lot of growth that he needs to do. Most big men takes multiple years to become really something special in the NBA. Wendell Carter was a guy that was a jack of all trades, does everything that can really help your team win in college. And teams thought he was that interesting when you look at his mobility and his size, and the fact that he puts everything together with his IQ, especially defensively and offensively. He can really be an Al Horford light type of player. Obviously, the 3-point shooting in the mid range hasn't come along. Neither has been an elite finisher at the rim, but he still do have potential. The Magic do need a big, and he is a guy that helps his teammates and makes their jobs easier on the NBA court. Now we just will have to see where he be 2, 3 years from now, and hopefully he just more healthier. But a 4-year, $50 million is really nothing, especially for a big, and you're not paying him nowhere near the max, and you're getting him on a contract to where even if he does improve a little bit and give you at least 15 and 10, you still have him on a tradable contract, and it still is an affordable contract, and it's probably will be about what he really should be valued at. So the Magic didn't overpay really, unless he just becomes injury prone for the next couple of years, and then it just become dead money because he's not playing that much. But he is a guy that can grow with this team, really can build something special with they're trying to do, and he is a guy that was drafted as a potential two-way player. So it fits the Wagner, it fits the Jalen Suggs, Jonathan Isaac type of brand that they're trying to do. And if he really can, fit in and really grow with this team, they can really have a versatile, switchable, team. And Wendell Carter can be a big part of that. We'll just have to see if this contract is really going to be worth it in the next 2 years when it actually start kicking in, and we can actually see if he really does develop to at least being a decent rebounder, finisher, and rim protector. If he doesn't, this contract could be, about average. So they're not really losing much, signing them to this type of year, 5 year, 4 years, 50 million. So they're not committing a lot of money, and the contract is fully guaranteed for people that want to know that. He will not, have unguaranteed money or deals where he can be waived. All his money will be guaranteed. Another team that has been making a lot of noise in the NBA preseason is the Golden State Warriors. I told you one of the biggest problems with this roster is they're just too guard heavy. They have way too many guards, and it's unrealistic for them to be able to bring that into the NBA season while still having a huge payroll. And on top of that, you still bringing in Clay, who is another guard that give you similarities to guys that they are waiving, because he is a guy that can give you 3-point shooting, some defense, even though I doubt it will be good right away, maybe 2, 3 years from now when he gets back in, his figure out his body, figure out the minutes, get back in conditioning, and get back some games under his belt. Maybe we can see a decent form of Clay again. I just don't expect it to be this year. But Avery Bradley was a good pickup for them, but he's just not the same player the last 3 years that he was so coveted about 10 years ago. His defense has slipped. His offense hasn't been there. And even though he was bigger than Isaiah Thomas and Quinn Cook, they both wouldn't be getting that much playing time on this current roster, and it really doesn't serve a purpose to bring all these guys in. Same with Gary Payton the second. It was understandable to try him out. It was understandable to give him a shot because he's a quality player, but ultimately they have better players on this roster, and it's going to be hard for him to even crack the rotation. So they just waived him. Same with Michael Mulder. He is a guy that is a combo as guard, can create a little bit, can shoot some threes, can do some things with his handle, but ultimately just doesn't fit what they're trying to do just because Steph is going to play the bulk of the minutes and they already have two legitimate backup point guards and he was probably the fourth, fifth string guy, so it makes sense to let him go. And Jordan Bell was interesting because he was a part of this team before, and he just gives them size and some switchability. But he never really became a great offensive player or even a great defensive player. And this probably will be better bigs in the future when buyout season comes than Jordan Bell, and you can basically pay them really nothing, and they actually will be better than Jordan Bell and probably more athletic and taller, and they probably can fit this team a lot better than with Jordan Bell. Jordan Bell is good as a 4th, 5th guy when it looks for bigs, but they already have legitimate bigs, even ones that can space, and that's something that Jordan Bell doesn't bring to the table. Maybe if he was a better finisher, maybe he was a better playmaker when it comes to passing and decision making, or maybe if he was just better defensively, he would have made this roster. But he still has a lot of rawness and still has a lot of potential. This team is still trying to compete for a playoff spot. They need guys that can come in and perform, guys that can come in and do production every single time they're on the court. And Jordan Bell is a wild card every single time he plays, if he does play, and you rather just give it to somebody else that can really be consistent, which he hasn't proven that he can do. The Cavaliers also convert Taco Fall to a two-way contract. He is a huge player. I don't really see him playing significant, crazy minutes for this team, as he isn't the greatest rebounder, isn't the greatest rim protector, isn't the greatest post player or finisher, but he is a solid big that can give you size, and that's why he made it to the league, and he still will be able to get roster spots. But it's hard to see him having a 10, 12-year longevity type of career in the NBA, especially because he's young right now and he's barely making rosters still to this day. So it'll be interesting 3 to 4 years from now if Taco Fall will even be in the league, as he's barely even on the roster right now. And even when he has made this roster, technically he can still be gone because it's only a two-way contract, meaning they can waive and get rid of him anytime that they want to, and his salary isn't even guaranteed if that happens. So he's technically barely in the league at this point, and we'll see if he's able to stay on his roster, and we'll see 3 years from now if he's even in the NBA. The Mavericks will also make a crazy decision, which some people would have thought 2 years ago. They will actually waive Tyrell Terry, Hunt, and Carlick Jones. These was guys that they really wanted to try out as hybrid guards slash bigs, and these guys wasn't good enough to make the roster. I feel like they had better players that was interested that they were trying out than these guys. Terry was a guy that was supposed to give them a handler slash scorer slash shooter. Never really was able to develop into that. Never was able to be even a solid defender either. So ultimately, they wasted the draft pick on Terry, as now they're basically waiving him and saying that they're going to go in a different direction with that roster spot. Maybe get a veteran, maybe get an NBA quality player that can do more than just be a potential spacer for Luka, even though they have the better spacers as starters and off the bench. Maybe they want to get more size. We'll see what they do at this spot, but it do make sense that they want to move on. Hunt is a potential guy, not really that great, not really that amazing. So they rather just go with somebody more interesting in the future. And Jones is the same thing, basically potential with athleticism. It'll be interesting to see what they go in this direction too in the future with this roster spot. But ultimately, none of these guys are amazing. none of these guys will blow you away. But for Tyrell Terry to be a 31st pick and be waived already is very, very interesting for the Mavericks because that's a high second round pick and basically giving him up for nothing as they waived him. So that will be something that's very interesting. And John Horst for the Milwaukee Bucks, I feel like he is one of the best GMs in the entire NBA because he did make the move to get Drew Holiday. He made the move to get Bledsoe. He's helped get Mike Budenholzer down here. He also was the guy that brought Jason Kidd that turned his team back into a playoff caliber team. And then he was able to replace him with the coach of the year and Mike Budenholzer that helped them get to a conference finals, that helped them win a championship. He made the trade for PJ Tucker, which helped them in the playoffs a little bit defensively. He actually made the move for Grayson Allen, which a lot of people in Milwaukee are liking currently, and he basically signed him to a cheap extension. Plus, he helped build what this team is right now and really helped them become a competitive, now a championship team. And now we will see what he's able to do within the next couple years of this contract as he took over as a general manager in 2017, and now he will be signed for a couple more years. So it'll be interesting to know how many years it will be. And he really did help this team become a team that was on the brink of being good to being a legitimate team in the NBA to being actual champions now in the present. And we'll see what he does in the future for this team. The Lakers also will waive Joel. I didn't think he will be on this roster. Honestly, I thought he would get waived, and now he also will be waived. The Lakers also waive Brown Jr., Cameron Oliver, and Trevelin Queen. They also got waived too. I told you guys these guys wasn't going to be on the roster. They wasn't going to stay on this team long term, and they already have been waived. The Rockets will also convert Knicks to a two-way contract. It'll be interesting to see what he becomes in the league, if he even has a future. They're trying out a lot of guys in Houston to see who sticks, to see who they can use in the future. And a two-way contract is the best way to try them out on the NBA level, and you can always waive them if they doesn't work. And Luka will agree to a two-way contract with the Knicks. It will be interesting to see if he actually stays on this roster long term. And at the end of the day, the small little things are basically the Wolves signed Vincent Edwards. He might not be there long term, so we'll see what happens. Klay Thompson will also be cleared for practice within a month, showing that he is farther away to being actually an impact player than people think, as he's not even ready to practice with the team just yet. And Cam Reddish, Onyeka Okongwu, and DeAndre Hunter all will be exercised, which means they will pick up their options and they will stay on their rookie deals for the Atlanta Hawks, giving them another year to develop, another year to see what they can do, and another year to test them out to see if they really want them to be a part of this team long term and really be a part of this future with Nate McMillan, Trae Young, and John Collins. And the Grizzlies will waive Sean McDermott, Romeo Weems, and KV Kaver and Matt Hurt. And the Knicks will also sign Brandon Goodwin, and they will waive Dwayne Bacon and Miles Powell. The Bulls will waive Bryce Alford. Spurs will waive Jordan Burns and Damian Dotson. The Kings will waive Damian Jefferson and ID Murky. Bulls will waive Elijah Bryant, Rayvon Tucker, and sign Jalen LeCue. We'll see if he stays on the roster, which I doubt. Armani Brooks will agree to a 4-year contract with the Rockets. They like what they seen. They like what he can do. They want to see what he can be in the future. Plus, they locked him up on a pretty cheap contract, and they still do have flexibility with that. By the way, the Jazz will waive Austin, Marquise Bolden, and Teague. The Hornets will retain LiAngelo Ball's G League rights after signing a non-guarantee contract. So he will have a chance to be on this roster if he stays. They still have flexibility. Zion Williamson is out 2 more weeks, so we'll see what he will actually be able to start the season. And other than that, that is pretty much done for the NBA. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of y'all day. Try to cover big, little, and small, and give you in-depth analysis for these players and what they will do for these teams, why they didn't make the roster, and the future for these teams and what they're trying to do with their roster before the season is over. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys Sunday, hopefully. Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis signing out. Enjoy the night.